Canada's Wonderland's new for 2025 coaster is a coaster by Premier. If any of you thought Canada's Wonderland was going to get a Premier Rides launch coaster for 2025, congrats, because I definitely did not. This to me is such a weird pick because Premier Rides isn't exactly known for building the most extreme rides. Last time Cedar Fair worked with the company was a backlot stunt coaster. So it's interesting that the park is going with a pick like this when we just saw the chain work with companies like Mach, Vekoma, and I guess even Zamperla would have been more likely since they were so successful with Top Thrill. Never mind. Just for reference on what Premier Rides has built recently, we have Icebreaker, which is more of a family coaster, West Coast Racers, and some Skyrocket 2s. This brings in a concern for me actually. All of these coasters have super short trains, and Canada's Wonderland is the busiest regional park in the Western Hemisphere. To put that in perspective, Cedar Point gets 3.3 million visitors per year, and Cedar Point sucks. Canada's Wonderland gets around 3.9 million annually, so a 3-car train isn't going to cut it at this park. But let's get a little more in depth really quick than just the capacity. What are we seeing with this layout? The last coaster Premier built was Icebreaker, which was more of a family coaster. Canada's Wonderland does not need a family coaster. They already have 4 kiddie coasters, Backlot Stunt Coaster, Fly, Guardian, Thunder Run, and Leviathan. Lucky for us, though, the construction is reminiscent of a thrill coaster. There's construction over by Fly and tunnels heading into Wonder Mountain. And if you remember, Canada's Wonderland posted a pass holder survey for the couple next editions that pass holders wanted to see. And one of those options was a launch coaster shooting out of Wonder Mountain. This is clearly what they are going for based on the construction. But that's not all the info we have. On the leak, it stated a dual launch coaster. Now, really quick, there's a difference between dual and dual. This is not dual like fight, this is dual as in 2. So this is not a racing coaster, but instead this coaster has 2 separate launches, which is perfect since Canada's Wonderland's only other launch coasters were Backlot and Snoopy's Racing Railway. My prediction is a vertical launch up the mountain and then a second launch halfway through to get the train back into the station, since the mountain is only a little over 100 feet tall. However, it could very well be a pre-launch to get the train some momentum before launching vertical through the mountain. And as for the layout possibilities, I assume this coaster will be more focused on transitions and speed over anything. They got an inversion machine with Yukon in 2019, Canada's Wonderland needs a fast-paced coaster. And even though Leviathan goes over 90 miles per hour, let's be real, it's not a super well-paced coaster. I am actually going to the park for my first time next week, so I can film a construction update around the area, but right now I assume the train will exit the mountain to the left, then it will dive towards this relatively large plot of empty land that Yukon's Immelman is currently in. This would result in a twister layout because of the square plot and how close it is to the station. However, it can also take a more out-and-back style layout down towards Flight Deck, and then it will come back to the station. If this layout was the case, I assume the second launch would be to get the train back to the station since the layout goes much further away, and would have to remain higher since the track has to remain above the paths. Canada's Wonderland is so compact and full of rides that it makes it really difficult to see where the trains would go. I could also see an element like we saw in Volcano at Kings Dominion, where the train rotates out of the mountain, inverting through some sort of downward roll. But this is super great for Canada's Wonderland. The park needed another good coaster, because currently, the most thrilling coasters as advertised by the park are Leviathan, Behemoth, Yukon, and Flight Deck. So this is going to work wonders for the park, and it's literally going to be heading straight through the centerpiece of the park. I wouldn't be surprised if this coaster had a longer line than Leviathan since it's more centralized in the park. Will probably have a lower height requirement, and will have a lower capacity. I just hope that Canada's Wonderland doesn't opt for those horrible comfort collars, and instead chooses lap bar restraints. If Top Thrill 2 can handle just lap bars, so can this. Premier definitely has a tendency to make the worst restraints known to mankind, so hopefully these will be a step in the right direction. But this brings up another important point. What the is Cedar Fair doing? We've seen Vekoma, Mach, Zamperla, and Gerstlauer all build just one coaster for the chain and nothing else. Is Premier going to be the next company that Cedar Fair works with a ton? Right now we have GCI, Gravity Group, and B&M. Will this be the next? I don't really know how I would feel about that. Take Kings Island for example, one of the most popular parks in the world and in desperate need of a launch coaster filling in the plot of land where Vortex once stood. However, this park desperately needs a Vekoma launch coaster like Abyssus, not Full Throttle. But I do like the idea of Premier doing coasters for smaller parks. Icebreaker, all jokes aside, is a fantastic family thrill coaster that could be used at many smaller Cedar Fair parks now, and I guess Six Flags parks too. Michigan's Adventure, Darien Lake, parks of that size could definitely benefit from a coaster like that. Same goes for the Skyrocket 2, the lap bar variant to specify. These rides actually look super intense and pretty thrilling, and would be awesome at some of these smaller, more neglected parks. So really, my main concerns for this ride are just Premier's ability to make a larger scale ride, since most of their coasters take up small plots of land. Besides, I guess full throttle, but the brakes are literally on the drop, so that doesn't really count. My other worry is the train design. I really don't want to see super tight trains that are on Flight of Fear, or the comfort collars that are on most SeaWorld coasters. Lap bars would be perfect at this park. Honestly, if this coaster does super well at Canada's Wonderland, I could see it being the best ride in the park, which, if we're being honest, it doesn't have that much competition for at least top 3. But Premier as a whole could also spread to other parks in the chain that desperately need a smaller scale thrill coaster. And with the whole Six Flags merger complete, adding a new company to the chain's portfolio is perfect at this time. But we'll have to wait and see. Thanks for watching this short video. Let me know what you think of this new addition in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.